On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things when, and I've definitely been through this with clients over the years, again, that there's like this new strategy that their friend did and it worked really good for their friend, or you know what I mean? They see someone else that's like crushing it with the strategy and they're like, oh man, like I should run it. I should do that. Like I've been looking, people are like seeking that magic bullet kind of thing, right? Like what's the thing that's going to finally like take them to the next level? And the thing is that we don't know the behind the scenes of anybody else's business mostly. And so, like you said, Jenny, you don't know. Well, first and foremost, I always think when you're considering any strategy is to think about if it aligns with your company values, right? And so I've seen that a lot where there's these strategies that are very still in like the kind of hustle, right? Like pace. And I've had clients that are like, oh, I want to do that, right? I'm like, well, we've been talking about like doing the opposite of the hustle. So It's like, this might not be the strategy for us. So I think looking at strategies that align with your company values, and in order to do that, you need to know what your company values are, right? Like what direction you're taking your company and what things are important to you and your team. So I think that's the first thing to look at. And sometimes there's launches that are super complex. I've done those, right? I mean, the first launch I did when I came into the online space when I didn't even know what I was doing, honestly, was this 7-figure like stacked event of like webinars, challenges, like Q&A, like that whole thing. I mean, it was like a bunch of moving parts. And like, if you don't have the systems, the team, the resources, the budget to execute those, well, you're gonna have really unrealistic expectations on the results that you're gonna get, and it's gonna be really deflating. So I think it's really important when people are looking at what strategy to do and how to combine those different like conversion events with nurture, with all of that, is to really look at where are you at currently in your business, and is this strategy going to support, or is that going to support the success of this strategy? This, Jenny, right? Like, well, and you probably too, Allison, we're just getting connected. Like, a lot of people will launch a strategy where you need to already have a highly engaged audience, right?
Yes.
And they run it and without a highly engaged audience. They have no runway, right? They have no nurture leading up to the launch. And then it falls completely flat. And they're going, well, I did it just like this other person did it. Why didn't I get those same results?
That is a huge thing.
Yeah. So I think that's so important. Go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, no, I was going to jump in. So I invested in a coaching program that was, promised A to Z and all of that stuff. And it was run by somebody that I really respect and had worked with in a different capacity in the past. And what ended up happening is that, yes, their strategy could be A to Z if.
Right.
And that if was not discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't meet the if.
Yeah.
And so I didn't make any money from that entire, and it was not a small investment. Actually, Jenny, I just paid it off. Just paid the credit card bill off yesterday.
Yay, that's all done. I'm so glad.
But, and so I understand, and I think that that's something that's really important to talk about is that quick little test that you just said. Mm-hmm. Is this going to support my business where it is right now? I think a lot of times we get so aspirational and so ambitious that we think we can overcome.
Yes.
And frankly, there are some things that just can't be overcome. If you have 5 Instagram followers and what you want to do requires that you have 5,000 Instagram followers, that's not something you can overcome in the next few months.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I love this. Actually, I was thinking about this recently as well. I did a social media post on my personal profile about it was kind of cheeky, but just about if we started requiring coaches to publicly share their revenue, like their numbers.
I saw that.
Yeah, that a lot of people might stop posting like about how much revenue they're making. And really with that, I was really going deeper into like the honesty of what people like post, in terms of their results. But one of my former clients, the person that I did my very first 7-figure launch with, actually posted on there. Because some people were saying, I don't have a lot of overhead. Like, I run an online business. There's not a lot of overhead. Most of my expenses go to coaching and mentorship. And my former client jumped on. She said, that's so funny. I never really spent a lot of money on coaching and mentorship. She said, all of my investments were in team and systems. And I said to her, I said, you are one of the only and the few people that I work with that have fully leveraged their team and their systems to the benefit of their business, that she didn't even need a coach or a mentor because she was tapping into her team's expertise. And they were her advisor, they were her consultant, they were her coach. Because, and it speaks into what you were saying, Allison, when you're looking at this strategy, you're like, well, how do I know if it's for me? Ask your team. Yes. Your team is in the behind the scenes of your business. They know your business better than any coach or mentor that you're going to jump on a sales call with that's going to try and pitch you into a program without knowing if you meet those requirements. Like you said, Allison, your team knows. And I've honestly had really honest conversations with many of my clients, like in the past year, because like people just don't do that, right? We're in this kind of this this mindset of like more leads, more sales, more this, more that, right? And like we're not maximizing what we already have, and that is again leaning on the expertise of your teams before you go out and you buy a course or you invest in a coach. Talk to your team, because I know I've had clients that invested in things, and after the fact, I was like, I've done that strategy before with other people, and I could have told us that we didn't have the systems and the team in place to execute it successfully, and then you're in this, this situation that they've already invested. And, it's after the fact, and you've just got to run with it and make the best of it. And I've had clients that we've still done it really successfully. And I've had clients where it was like, okay, lesson learned, right? And now we know for next time. So I think that's super important when you're thinking about, it's not, listen, the marketing is so flashy, right? It's so like, everything's like, yeah, we're going to give you everything on the silver platter, all the processes, all the copy templates, all the things, right? That's not the stuff you really need to know. That stuff can be created. You need to know if the strategy is going to be successful and if you have the stuff to make it successful.
I want to quickly
say about that.
I mean, tell me how you really feel.
I get really passionate about this stuff.
Well, and you said something that I just wanted to quickly clarify. Like, your team does not mean you have 30 employees sitting in your office with you. No. It is your copywriter, your list build producer, your launch strategist, your, business bestie,
VA.
even.
Listen,
your VA.
Mm-hmm. I have clients that, they can tell you, oh, we ran this launch, and the VA will say, yeah, we were burnout. Like they can tell you, like, that running strategies like that, like, okay, what do we get to do differently? You can ask every level of your team. Most of my clients honestly have like 3 team members. I have clients that have 10 to 15 team members, but a lot of my clients have really small teams, but they're experts in what they do in their role on the team, and they all have valuable feedback to provide.
I have been on a team where the client had a coach, and the coach is like, you need to do this strategy, XYZ. Mm-hmm. And everybody on the team was like, that's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. And the client's like, well, we got to do it because my coach told me we're going to do it. And I've committed to doing it. We're doing it by this date. And the whole team is like, okie dokie, here we go. Right. And you do it. Mm-hmm. And you're gritting your teeth through the whole thing. Yeah. And then, the client's like, why didn't that work? And they're looking at the team going, why didn't it work, guys? And the team's like, well, we kind of told you this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of leveraging your team more, because quite honestly, you could save yourself a ton of money if you listen to your team, because depending on who's on it, they're going to be the experts in the thing.
Yeah.
And they're worth listening to.
And they're the experts in the behind the scenes of your business, and what they know what's already worked, and they're on other teams. Most of my clients are working with contractors, right?
Sure.
So they're on other teams. They've seen these strategies, they've run them, they've executed them. So they have firsthand experience in what the experience is like for the team and for the CEO. And if it's a viable strategy for that business.
And it's incredibly empowering to the team members and makes them feel more vested in the business if they're asked their opinion and to be part of the process. Like if you ask them to be part of it and provide their feedback and things, I think it really makes them more vested in the business versus just, I'm a contractor for such and such person, and my job is to put up such and such landing page. It's more like they're really in it, which I like.
Yeah. And everybody gets to share in the results then. And that's great, and it brings the team closer together. When you go through that experience like that, and everybody's like feedback and experience is taken into consideration in those decisions.
So Allison and I have been dying to ask you, okay, because we do this too. We're dying to ask you this question. What is your favorite launch stack strategy?
Ooh, what is my favorite launch stack strategy?
And by launch stack, if people don't understand, this is the different components that you bundle together before the launch to help make it a successful launch. It could be webinars and challenges and summits and Facebook ads and all these different types of things. And, I'm just really curious what Lara likes to use.
Lara, well, I think I love challenges personally. Like a challenge, and then to like a conversion event, like a webinar or something like that. And honestly, the shift I've been seeing that I really like personally is incorporating really like more personal outreach as part of those things. So I think there's this, like, for teams or for companies that don't have like a high volume yet of audience, I think the personal outreach is what I found to be most effective. So I love like the challenge strategy to a webinar stack, and then like the personal outreach interwoven. I think that goes back to the like maximizing what you're already doing, really in terms of like challenges. Most people have the content already for a challenge, right? They've done Facebook Lives, they've done, they have all of the content. So it's not like a heavy lift in terms of like recreating like an entirely new flow. It's figuring out the stuff you already have, how to piece it together in like a really solid journey for the people that's going to get them a result at the end. And then weaving in really that personal touch throughout it.
Total blooper reel. Did it all come falling down?